What's up? We have a new vehicle in the garage. What you're looking at right now is a 1982 square body. This truck was originally a long bed. It has been converted to a short bed. I say short bed, really technically it's a standard bed because it is right at 7 feet. Short beds would be about 6 feet and standard would be 7. Let's go over here. I'll show you the front of it. Right now, I'll just show you a picture just because the front is pretty much right into the wall. But the front has an aftermarket grille on it, which I actually really like. That was the same kind of grille that came on the black C10 that I had, and I hated it on that for whatever reason. Original grille's back here. It has some spray and bed liner that's coming up. I'll probably redo it. But I was also thinking about doing the sides as well as the wheel wells because they're kind of dinged up as well, obviously from just crap being thrown back here. Paint job, if I had to give it a number 1 through 10, 10 being the absolute best, I would say it's probably a 6. The paint job itself is pretty daggum good. There's not a bunch of runs, there's not a bunch of orange peel, but like on the top right here, you can see some surface rust coming through, which isn't a huge deal, but it's just little things like that. As you can see, I thought about doing a video about this, but there's really not much to it. I've already pinstriped it. This truck is kind of, well, I name all my cars except for the X3. She's my daily. But this truck I have named Fast Eddie after my grandpa that we lost at the end of January. And he always loved all my cars that I would bring and show him that I bought. So thinking of a name for this, it was pretty easy to decide upon, but he loved pinstripes. He pinstriped everything. He would ask you if you wanted everything pinstriped. So first thing that I wanted to do to this to really kind of make it my own was pinstripe it. It didn't look bad with just the white, but it really comes together with the pinstripe. It went from 2 saddle tanks on both sides, or at least being set up for 2. I'm not sure if there were originally 2 in there. From that to being relocated in the back right here. And with that being said, you have to relocate the gas can or the gas cap. So how you put gas in the tank. So there's kind of 2 ways of doing that. One is either using the bed rail holes, which this doesn't even have, so they've covered them up. Or 2 would be putting it down here, which seems to be the most inconvenient choice of the 2. Just in case you had anything in here, you would have to remove it just to put gas in your car. So you can see all the things to be able to put gas in the tank has been back here and then covered with a plate. And then like I mentioned, this is right here. This originally should go down and stay, but it sticks, so I do not push it. I've been looking to get a replacement one, but there's no part numbers on this, no nothing. And I honestly think, call me crazy, I think it's from a motorcycle. The most I've done with Google looking for it and trying to figure out another part I can get with the same specs, it's all ringing up like Harleys, which is crazy. I have Cooper Cobra tires, which still have great tread on them. I'm excited about that. Just some regular old rally wheels, which I actually like. I know my dad's not a huge fan of rally wheels, but if you remember, I had Torque Thrust 2s on that other C10, which I liked, but I like these, so I'm not planning on buying any anytime soon. It has a 3-2 drop. Actually, maybe it's a 2-3 drop. I can't remember. I'll have to look. But let's open up. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about the interior first, then I'll get to underneath the hood. So first thing you notice, this thing has old body style seats. Anyways, back here is a speaker as well as the sound management. Because you notice right here, instead of a center console, you have a sub. And right there would be the control for the amount. And I went ahead and put, let me get you guys back in focus. I went ahead and put a cup holder right here because it was really inconvenient not being able to put my drink anywhere. So I thought this was the most, or the least intrusive way of doing it by putting this cup holder and just screwing it into the sub box. Windows are manual, locks are manual, however, it is set up for power locks, which is right here, which that's pretty convenient. It is set up for heat and air, but it does not have air. It does have heat, but like I said, it's set up if I ever wanted to do it. I'm not sure I have enough room though in the engine bay, and I'll show you why here in a second. It has an old body style wheel. It has a tilt steering column, which is nice. Not all of the square bodies do. It has 2 aftermarket gauges, one for temperature, one for oil pressure. And the body on this vehicle has 155,392 miles, or it could be 55,392. Who knows? As you know, with the, God, I am not used to this camera. With the odometer, it can roll, so it may have already hit 100,000 miles, it may not have, but either way, I'm fine with it. The motor mileage is unknown. However, the guy I bought this from, he got it on a trade. He messaged the guy that he got it from, and the motor had been built not much earlier before this guy acquired the vehicle. Clock works, clock's not set correctly, but it's ticking away. And yeah, everything else works. Fuel gauge works to my knowledge. That needs to be addressed. This is a cap, so this is why it's different. It's like there's 3 different colors of burgundy going on in here. We have the seats, we have right there, we have up here, we have the doors, the door cards. So, I mean, like, look, it's big time evident. It's 2 different colors right here. So instead of making it like a 4th color of me trying to pick what paint this is, I think I'm just gonna end up spray painting or bed lining or something that black. Let's get into the engine bay. Oh, that was one-handed. All right, so here is the motor. It is a Cadillac 500. The second I bought this vehicle, I went and looked at it, we test drove it, I took my dad with me so I had double eyes and ears. Everything looked great, it was wonderful, but whenever I purchased this, the guy who I bought it from drove it 40 miles here. So probably the most that it's been driven in quite some time because it's kind of stayed in that part of the state. But with that being said, after we exchanged money, exchanged the titles, I go to leave, there's oil underneath the truck. I was like, oh, of course. So I texted the guy, I said, hey, are you aware of any oil leaks that just came up between when I looked at this Saturday and now? He said he was unaware, which the more I think about it, I kind of believe him with the majority of the stuff. Some of the stuff I don't, some of the stuff I do. But with that being said, I dropped it off at my mechanic not 5 minutes into owning it. Long story short, it was there about 2.5 weeks. So I've owned this about 2.5 weeks and only had it home for 2 days. These are the issues it had. Issue number 1, the trans pan was way too tight. The gasket was literally pushing out. They fixed that because whenever he would start driving, it just all spilt out the back. We have an oil leak, I believe, on the oil pan. Now the oil pan, the gasket needs to be replaced. With this, what they had told me was this motor needs to be lifted up. Not necessarily taken out completely, but lifted up to be able to access the oil pan. I'll get back to that here in a second. Rear main seal is leaking. I don't think I've probably ever owned an old vehicle without a rear main seal leak. Obviously, that is something that needs to be addressed. With the time that I will own this, probably not. But maybe whoever purchases this from me, obviously I'm going to let them know. And they might want to fix it if they're going to hold on to it long term. So rear main seal, we have the transmission pan, which was addressed, the oil pan, and then we had the intake. That was leaking as well. The gasket had been done by the owner that I bought this from, the guy I bought it from, so I texted him and he's like, what? I just did that. So that was one of those things where I was thinking, okay, yeah. Well, my mechanic dove into it, said, you know what, this does look like it was just done, but there wasn't enough gasket put down. So that's why it was spilling out the back. So that was fixed and addressed. The guy I bought this from, he had the carburetor installed. It's a brand new carburetor, Edelbrock, and I'll put the model right here. He let me know what the model was, but it's a brand new carburetor, and he had one of his guys install, which that does not sit well with me. That just does not reassure me that it was done right, because there are some issues with this truck that make me think that the carburetor is not to spec or how it should be, or tuned how it should be. This is going to a place here in town, not the place that I just took it from, but a place here in town where I actually take the Volkswagen, and the guy is meticulous. He hid and fixed a bunch of wires that I had from the underglow just whenever I took it to get an oil change. So I called them yesterday. I said, hey, I want you guys to clean up all this wiring because it really shouldn't be just kind of floating around. I'm gonna have him check the electric choke, which is right here. And I have wires to actually try and do that myself. I don't know if I'm gonna attempt to do that. But long story short, I've watched a few videos where the electric choke is hooked up, routed into the, through the firewall, into the cabin, and then connected to this little fuse box area over on the right. This guy put it looks like to some temperature sensor on the motor itself. So what that kind of tells me is when the motor's hot enough, it's gonna say, hey, I don't need a choke, even though it acts like it needs a choke. It's not gonna, it's weird. So I want him to look at that, but I also want him to tune the carburetor if he is knowledgeable on that, which I think he is. So that's one thing that I'm gonna have addressed on Friday. Let's see, I'm gonna check for some vacuum leaks here in a little while. I drove it a lot yesterday, and gosh, probably cumulatively, probably 2 hours total, maybe 2.5. And I was cruising around town, just driving it around, enjoying it, and I got to a stoplight, and I stayed for a long time at that stoplight. Towards the end of the time that I was there at that stoplight, it kind of started sputtering, acting like it was going to die, and the clutch light came on, or the choke light, excuse me, came on in the cabin. So that again very well could be the fact that that carburetor is not tuned to what it should be. But another kind of obvious thing for me to check would be vacuum leaks, so I'm going to do that. Big boy motor, Cadillac 500, it sounds phenomenal. I will insert a clip right here and let you hear it. This was just of my brother taking it for a spin. All right, that is it. Again, introduction to the new C10. Oh, I did buy something new. I don't know if you can see it. You can barely see it under there. I bought an oil mat. So this mat is supposed to catch oil and just keep it from getting on my concrete, which I already have some on my concrete. But this is gonna keep any more from getting on my concrete, which I will appreciate with the amount that comes out from the rear main seal. It's not a ton, but it's enough to where it would probably accumulate over time and really annoy me. With that being said, I'll end it right here. Again, follow me on Instagram. You would have seen this car 2 weeks ago or this vehicle 2 weeks ago. I'll see you guys in the next video.